Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Gran Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Gran Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Gran Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Gran Group with Edina Realty, 3-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The month of April has come to a close. The month of May has begun, and your Minnesota Twins are leading the AL Central. After their 7-game winning streak gets snapped in Game 1 to the Rays, the Twins come back with a vengeance, Dan Thompson. The bats come alive. What do you think about this team, Dan?
I was really surprised. I was really surprised after Game 1 because I thought Game 1 was going to be kind of a correction to maybe a little bit more of a norm. But to come out and win the last two in the way that they did, this was perhaps the most impressive series of the season so far, I think.
Yeah, I think Game 1, I truly think what it was the Twins wanted to end the game quickly, Dan, in order that Minnesota fans could watch the other teams, because both the Wild and Wolves were playing in much more important games than the Twins game against the Rays this early in the season. The game ended, Dan, in 2 hours and 16 minutes. Can you believe that?
I know, and we had just been talking about, those pitch clocks are really going to speed up baseball. I think teams just being in a hurry. I think they have plans that night.
Well, with that, Dan, let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Game 1, Dan, and this one, honestly, it was over before it began. Twins lose this one 6-1. Bundy is pretty dreadful on the mound, at least in the first couple innings. He seemed to calm down a little bit here, but Twins give up 4 runs in the first inning. So Bundy, again, he gives 6 innings of work, which is fine, but 6 runs, all of them earned. Two walks, 7 strikeouts, 2 homers given up. This was not what we've come to know from Bundy in the short time he's been with the Twins, but this is probably somewhere between where he started and where he is now is probably where he belongs, right?
Yeah, I mean, his ERA is still 2.95 on the season, but would you give up 6 quick runs like that, and the other team has Corey Kluber pitching, who has an ERA actually, ironically, a little bit higher than Bundy's right now, but I would think most teams are going to take Corey Kluber over Dylan Bundy, I believe, if they were doing a fantasy draft, for example.
Yes, this game was pretty silent as far as the Twins' offense is concerned. Correa had a good game going 2 for 4. Buxton DHing, Dan. He doesn't seem real comfortable when he's DHing in games as opposed to when he's in center.
No, we've talked about this, right, and how really he thrives on that rhythm, and I think all players to an extent do. It makes what Nelson Cruz can do and just really be engaged for those. Well, he's probably napping, I guess, between his at-bats, but
yes.
But that is really hard. I guess I understand a little bit of why Buxton might struggle.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk anymore about this game, Dan. Did you have any other notes on this game?
There was one other thing. Trevor Larnach had a really nice play nailing a Rosarena at home, and he's been quietly quite good in the outfield. He's got a couple of those outfield assists this season, but again, in a 6-1 game, that didn't really matter that much.
No, unfortunately not. With that, though, Dan, let's keep the positive going by going to Game 2. Twins win this one 9-1, and if you were going to rewatch a game, this is probably the one you want to rewatch, but I'd say you can stop after the 6th inning. That would be what I'd say. You can pretty much call it after that. Twins win this one 9-1. Archer's on the mound, gives 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run. He looked better than his last outing where he had to get yanked early, but he still didn't look great.
No, and then again, it feels like the Rays have a ton of aces. This is why it was so encouraging to win a couple of these games, because then McClanahan's out there. He struck out 11 guys. He actually, I believe, leads the majors in strikeouts this season, but the Twins made him throw 90 pitches in 5 innings, and that's huge when you can get those great starters out early, and clearly the Rays have some holes in their bullpen.
Definitely seems like if you're going to beat this Rays team, if you can work through the starters as quickly as possible, that's your best bet to secure a victory.
And sure enough, when the Twins were able to add 2 runs in the 6th, 2 runs in the 7th, I don't know why you're saying you turned the game off after the 6th inning, because the Twins scored then 4 more runs in the 9th. Why would you turn it off after 6? That's all the exciting run scoring.
Well, exciting run scoring when you're up big. I don't know.
That feels really good. That feels good when
the
Twins are piling it on like that.
But yes, I apologize. I wouldn't necessarily turn the game off after the 6th inning, but it was just kind of like nothing else happened to make the game dramatic other than watching the Twins score runs, which is always fun. Don't get me wrong.
That is always fun. And your boy, Max Kepler, again, I can't believe you haven't even mentioned his name yet. 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs and a run. Garlick, who we're going to talk about as well later, was 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. I mean, who knew knew that the Twins had such a core of this lineup here that was so powerful with Garlick and Kepler. That was all from one spot, come to think of it. Garlick and Kepler, because Kepler came in for Garlick. They're like this great two-headed monster.
Of course, because as soon as a lefty is no longer on the mound, Kyle Garlick gets pulled out of the game, Dan. That's exactly what happens.
Gone. He could have hit 2 grand slams, and
wouldn't matter.
if another guy... I mean, yeah, he's gone after that.
It's still pulled. I love it. Because how does that feel for Kyle Garlick? Like, we're going to talk about him a little bit different, but I was actually talking to my roommate about this a little bit, and I was like, how would it feel to go 2 for 3 with 2 home runs, and then you get pulled because there's no longer a lefty on the mound? They're like, you know what? You don't even have a chance at a hit against a righty. We're going to go ahead and take you. Doesn't matter how well you play.
Yeah, Rocco doesn't really believe in riding a hot bat. I don't think. He's like, just tell me what the numbers say. Who should I put in there next? I guess he knows who he is, right?
It seems to be. And I mean, I guess for a guy like Kyle Garlick, if that's your one role on this team and it secures your spot on the major league roster, you take that every single time, Dan.
I mean, his OPS is over 1,000 right now.
It's because he only gets like 4 at-bats and he hits a homer if he's hitting again a lefty.
So good on him. So the Twins win that one. Anything else for game 2?
No, I don't. It was a fun game to watch. And yes, I feel so bad
except
now.
for the last 3 innings.
You made me feel so bad about
watch those.
saying... I'm sorry. That's not. I just meant that like the 6th inning was kind of the culmination, the most exciting moment in the game.
This is what's going to happen: is that the Wild are going to be up like 3 or 4-0 against the Blues in Game 1 Monday night, and David's just going to turn it off, right? Even if they score a couple more goals,
over.
Doesn't matter. The game's over. The exciting part is done.
Anyway, thank you, Dan Thompson.
Did you even watch Game 3 after the first inning? Right, it was 5-0 at that point.
David's
over.
Turned it off. Twins really like the number 9 because in Game 3 they win this one 9-3. The offense again, this one was over kind of like Game 1 was after the first inning. Dan Thompson. Twins put up 5 in the top of the first, and they really don't look back. Kind of running into issues with injury. Winder gets the start and pitches extremely well. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Dan Thompson. If that isn't the line of a guy who wants to be in the rotation, I don't know what is, Dan.
And again, the Rays are a good team, right? I mean, the Rays are 12-10 now. I'm really encouraged to see the starting rotation showing some depth. And we didn't even talk about Kenta Maeda yet. And I believe he did he leave a note after this one too, do you think?
No. So it was after Game 1. Maeda is actually in Fort Myers rehabbing from Tommy John surgery. And so he was excited to come and watch the Twins play from the dugout. But unfortunately, it was Game 1. And after Game 1, Maeda decided not to come back. He put a note in the Twins dugout apologizing for being there for Game 1 and said he would not be watching the rest of the series from the dugout.
Didn't he apologize to a fan last year or something for like not completing the no-hitter or something like that? Like, he's a very apologetic person.
Yes, I think so. But yeah, pretty entertaining stuff. And certainly there was something to it, right, Dan Thompson?
Well,
I don't know what to tell you.
Because the Twins, they win this one 9-3, as we said. Everybody really looked good here, except for maybe Urshela and Arise. Everybody had at least one hit in the lineup. Even Larnach comes in for Garlick. We'll talk about Garlick after a little bit here. Really encouraging game in the sense that the Twins got hits from a lot of guys. They went 6 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and I think they started 4 of 5. That's how you win baseball games.
Yes, absolutely. It needs to be noted too, Buxton starting in center, we sort of talked about this last episode, that after not playing in Game 2, after being hit by a pitch in Game 1, it's just always that concern about whether he's healthy or not. So anytime you see Buxton starting in center, you know it's a good sign. And it's also good to see that he was effective at the plate, going 2 for 5 with a homer as well.
Well, especially because he was a late scratch from Game 2 with some bone bruising on his hand, and we've been down that road before with Buxton. So yes, and to your point earlier, I mean, he looks better when he plays in the field. He hits a home run, he goes 2 for 5, and so just great to see him there. We'll see how they handle him in Baltimore, because I don't know that he needs to play every game against Baltimore. Well, we'll see. I guess I'd rather see him at least 3 of these games. I hope that, and I hope he's able to play in center all of them.
See, I figure if you have a game where Buxton comes out, I think me turning it off early shouldn't be seen as a negative. I think that should be just fine.
The pitching, and then Cole Sands comes in. He made I believe this was his major league debut as well. Doesn't look great, but again, if you're ever going to come in and make a major league debut, isn't this kind of the spot you want to be with your team?
You want to
up?
be, yeah.
Really little pressure on Cole Sands here in this outing here. He does give up a couple runs, 3 hits. Did he even last the day? I feel like this is the kind of outing that I feel like ends him being sent back down.
I think because of the roster shrinking, I think, it's likely that he gets sent back down. But supposedly Garlick is injured and he may have to move to the IL, and Sano was just moved to the IL as well. So that may actually keep him on the roster.
Who knows, David? Anything else about this game here?
No, I think that'll do it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move forward to what's quickly becoming my least favorite segment, Puckett's Picks Winner.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
I knew I would have to come around, Dan. I am
This
just too good.
And I left Correa there for you. I am. It's a regret of mine, David. It's a regret.
Yes, this is 100% on Dan Thompson. I'm gonna, I really like it that the winner doesn't have to give the stat line. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you give him, Dan.
Oh my gosh! All right, so Correa wins it for you with 8 points. The listeners took Buxton. He had 4 points, and Luis Rise only had 2 for me. I'm very disappointed. He was gonna bet between Buxton and Correa, and he did in the first game. I was super excited. I thought he'd see some more pitches, and it just didn't really work out that way. He was 9th in Game 3, and ended up just being a non-factor in this series.
But Correa was not, Dan. Where are those season standings?
I forgot about that. All right, so the listeners still have 3, but now you and I are tied with 2. It's a long season, but I am on a 4-series drought here. I guess if there were a tiebreaker, it would be season points scored, right? And I'm ahead of you there,
yes.
7-3. So
okay,
I'll hang my hat on that one.
I have all those negatives that I racked up early in the season.
It's gonna take a while to work through those.
All right, let's keep pushing, Dan. Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
So you started to tease me a little bit for mine here. I'm going to stick with Jorge Polanco. And you said pre-show, what? Jorge? It's like, well, yeah, because he had two-run doubles in Game 3 that I thought were really important to keep this game out of reach for a Rays team that is still dangerous. And the Twins, they have a rookie starting pitcher on the mound. They've got Duffy. I know they probably don't go to Sands if the game's not, out of hand. But I just thought those were really important hits there. He ends up going 2 for 5 then with a run and 4 RBI. And that was really important. He raised his average also. He's getting close to 200. I think Polanco's starting to turn things around.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was just surprised because I had 3 names that I was debating between, and Polanco was not one of them. So that's kind of why it took me a bit by surprise. So I was debating between Correa, Garlick, and Kepler. Kepler really seems to be turning it around. The big thing I want to say about Kepler is watching his approach at the plate finally start to evolve so he can hit to the opposite field has been super fun to watch. And you know those pull hits are going to start coming back to him if he continues to show that he can hit to the opposite field.
But at what point do teams adjust? I mean, do you think that they're going to make that change, or they just say, we don't believe that this is really what Max Kepler is going to do?
I think it depends. Like if his on-base percentage starts going up and up and up and up because he keeps hitting to the opposite field, I would say that if you're getting to the point where every hit he's gotten in the ball game has gone opposite field, you have to start thinking about not putting the shift on.
I suppose so. I hope so, because that just makes him so much more versatile. He doesn't have to hit that narrow little circle between the second baseman and the center fielder and the right fielder.
Yes, but all of that being said, I think I'm going to go with Correa, actually.
Hold on. You just talked about Kepler for a long time. He has to be your guy. You can't talk about one guy and then switch it up. That's like putting two beasts.
I thought he was talking about his approach. I'm going to go with Correa. I think that he has finally started to turn it on. He's hitting very, very well. He's showing himself to be the player that we're paying that much money to. I thought about putting Garlick into this spot as well. I want to talk about everybody, Dan. I want to talk about everything.
Fair enough. What about your bench?
I got to go with Urshela, Dan. 0 for 13, 3 strikeouts. That is a rough go.
But that was about it. I mean, that's not great, but...
What do you mean that's about it? Sure, I guess he didn't have any errors. I guess is that what you're getting at? Sure, I guess.
It's hard to argue with that. I'm actually going to go with a pitcher. I feel like I've been talking about pitchers a lot this season, but I'm going to go with Bundy. The rough start in Game 1 where he gives up 6 runs early just really took the Twins out of this game. I don't care who you've got in the lineup. When you're down 6-0 on the road, really hard to come back from that. But also, I think the cupboard was pretty bare here if trying to pick a bench player, but I ended up with Bundy.
Fair enough. I think that's reasonable. I don't mind it as much. I'm not sure why. I think obviously winning the next 2 games plays a big role in that. I didn't mind it as much, partly because I think he got through 6 innings, and that was helpful, at least that you didn't have to burn through bullpen arms on top of having a loss to his record.
Agreed. Well, let's move forward.
Rocco's Rewind.
So, David, this is becoming really hard for me because I have to keep ragging on my guy, Miguel Sano. And I know that there's been moments in this podcast where I've kind of like abandoned him and said, no, I never loved you, Miguel. But I do.
Dan's in his own Spanish soap opera over here.
But Miguel Sano being sat and being lowered in the lineup, I think it's an admission, I think a wise one, that he's just not as good as the other options at first base right now. And again, Kirilloff hasn't even come back yet. And now Sano's on the IL, which with a, quote, injury. I just think that's being used as time to try to have him recuperate and hopefully get his swing back somehow, and maybe an excuse that they can send him to the minors for a rehab stint. That's what
I think they're going to use it as. And had it not been pretty obvious that he had hurt himself and like he wasn't faking it, like he definitely suffered an injury, I would 100% think it was pretend, like just to be able to send him to a rehab stint and get himself right. But it definitely looked like he got injured. So quick recovery for Sano. And truly, as much as we rag on the guy, or as much as I rag on the guy, I'd like to see him succeed, obviously. But the issue is, he just seems like he's in such rough shape and he just can't get his swing right. And so, yeah, some time off might do him good.
And honestly, because they need a spot for a rise right now anyway in the lineup, I mean, they can actually cover for it, which I'm surprised. I didn't think that without Kirilloff in the lineup as well, the Twins would have a viable option at first base. But credit to Luis Arraez here for being able to handle that position much better than he handled left field.
Yeah, certainly. Yes, I would much rather see Arraez at first than left field. No question about that, Dan.
What's your rewind?
I sort of already mentioned this, but keeping Bundy in game 1 was the right call. Like, let him pitch his heart out as much as he can. Yeah, he's probably going to get the loss. The game is more or less over, but just not burning through those bullpen arms. And I do have to say, this has got to be pretty nice for Rocco this series, where even in the loss, you didn't have to think about the bullpen almost at all. Like you can bring in guys, it doesn't really matter. Like the other 2 games, you're up so big by the time the starters are knocked out. It's like, who really cares? Like the Archer decision was probably the only real difficulty that he had, but he made the right call bringing in Stashak, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing is, and especially in the first game of a series, it's really great if your starter can eat up 6 innings, even if they take the loss. So I agree with you. Let's go ahead to Minnesota Moment.
Minnesota Moment.
So, David, I'm going to talk about Byron Buxton's solo home run here in Game 3, and this was important for a couple reasons. First off, he didn't play in Game 2, and in Game 1, he was 0 for 3. He did score a run, but he hadn't looked great in this series, and to see him hit that home run, again, not important really in the final score, but he'd struck out already a couple times that game. I just think it was an encouraging piece to see that he is maybe back on track, and that hand injury, anytime you see a guy get hit with a hand, you just kind of wonder. So I was really happy to see him hit that home run.
When it's just good to see him after being put on my bench last week, Dan. That was the big
right.
thing.
Well, and he was motivated by that, clearly.
Yeah, clearly he works that way, Dan.
What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the top of the first in Game 3 here. 5 runs scored, none of them via home run, which I think is really cool to see for this offense that is very home run powered. To score that many runs with no home runs hit, I think is, I don't know, it just gives you a different feel. It feels less fluky than home runs. Do you know what I mean? Like anytime you see runs that are like manufactured that way, it just feels more like a solid team effort, because it is, right?
Totally. And that really was a continuation of the game that you didn't want to watch. The 9th inning of Game 2, where, I mean, I think the Twins had like 7 hits in the 9th inning. Again, you didn't see it because you had already turned the game off.
That is not accurate.
But but you put those 2 innings together and the Twins did some damage in back-to-back innings.
To that point, it just proves that Game 2 wasn't a fluke, right? Like I think Game 2, you could look at it and be like, this one got out of hand. The Rays take Game 1 with a big score. The Twins win Game 2 with a big score. But then Game 3, the Twins come back out to show that no, our offense is this capable.
Agreed. Well, let's go to the musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's Musings.
What do you got for us here, Dan?
I'm going to ask this question to you, and I think this is a juicy one for you, David.
Ooh.
How does Correa being what we hoped he'd be, how does that impact this lineup, do you think?
Yeah, I think a couple of different ways, but primarily it shows that you have an additional guy to count on outside of Buxton when he's healthy. And I think just having that player who you know is going to produce, it has to uplift the other guys in the clubhouse, right?
I think it has to as well, because I think in previous seasons, in some sense, Nelson Cruz is a different player, right? I was going to try to, say that Nelson Cruz was kind of that guy before, but I think there's something about Correa being in his prime of his career. He's a more versatile player than Nelson Cruz. Obviously, he can play in the field. I think it does
very well in the field, by the way.
Yes. So I think it gives the Twins a great tandem. Also, they're right up the middle. If you look at the middle of this team now, and if Jeffers can really be strong at catcher as well, there's a great core to this with Polanco and Correa and Buxton. That's dare we say championship level middle, the middle of your defense.
If nothing else, Dan, it's championship culture is what it is.
It is. It's got to be that. Anyway, so what's your question?
Yeah, so with Winder's fantastic outing today, Dan, does he get to keep making starts as part of this rotation, or was this just a spot start because of the way the other guys have gone down with injury?
No, I think this is his spot now. I mean, because of the injuries, so Ober's on the IL, and I think there's a sense that when you're a starting pitcher and you are able to just put together some good outings, it doesn't really matter if somebody comes off the injured list. I don't think you get bumped. I don't think somebody's going to bump a guy with a 2.20 ERA, especially when he just put together a start against one of the better teams in Major League Baseball. So I think he's safe there. And again, the Twins have shown a willingness. I know rosters get cut down here, but I think they've shown a willingness to go with 6 starters if they've got them. But are they really going to have
go with
6
like
starters?
10 or 11 or 12 starters, Dan?
Well, because at some point Sonny Gray's going to come back too.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you right now without looking who are the starting pitchers in the Twins rotation right now, because it's been changing so much.
Well, I don't know that you could legitimately give one that you could say is accurate, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, just because how do you know? Like, you don't know what Rocco's going to do that day or for the next 5 starts.
Yeah, so a good problem to have. And again, they've really hit so far on basically all the starters that we thought were question marks have been exclamation points.
Like, you got to think there can even be some decent regression, and this team would still win a lot of games at this point.
Absolutely. And gosh, I hope that they keep winning games. They got a 3.5 game lead right now in the AL Central.
Fantastic, Dan. And what have I said? What have I said since the beginning of the season?
You've said if they finish April with a winning
above
record,
500 record, they're going to be fun to watch all season long, Dan.
And I think I said last episode that April doesn't matter. I was pretty sure that was just another month.
I just shut it off. As of April 1st, I just shut the games off. They don't really matter.
Yeah, who cares? I think we got to grade the series.
Series grades.
Dan Thompson, what have you done? I'm going to let you share your grade, and then I'm going to just destroy you because of it.
So throughout this episode here, I've been let's say updating my thoughts as we go, and I'm upgrading my grade here. I think this is an A. I'm very happy with this series. They went down to Tampa, they won 2 games, and after losing that first one, I realized they lost one of these games.
Do you
realize
that?
It was a throwaway game, right? Because they just had Bundy. I think Bundy pitched like the whole game, and the fact that they were able to come back, score 18 runs in the last 2 games to win emphatically a road series, and now they get to go to Baltimore. I'm feeling good. A. It's an A. David.
Okay, here's Dan, out of curiosity, you realize you're giving them the same grade that you would give them if they swept the series.
Yeah, I am because they succeeded. They won the series. A series win is important. I want to be
in your class, Dan. I want to see some of the paper grading that you do.
They rallied here. So this is like the student that really struggled early in the year, but then they really turned it on later in the year and became one of the best writers in the class.
The first 4 paragraphs of their essay is just straight garbage, but the last 10 are really good. So you're going to
It's how you finish. It's how you finish, David.
Well, I'm going to give them a B+, and now I want to drop it down after you're seeing what you've given them here. I'm going to give them a B+, just because, again, scoring that many runs, really not letting that first defeat stick in their minds, starting game 2 and game 3 fresh, knowing that, hey, we can come back, we can still win this series. A B+, which is a much, much more accurate grade than Dan Thompson's A.
Well, I'm feeling good about this team right now, so I'm going to go with it. I'm sticking by my grade. I'm sticking by it.
Let's keep going here. Herbie's headline, Dan Thompson.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
See, I think if we had come to this segment earlier, then my grade would have been lower, I think. My mood here. David, you better start. You better explain, and then I will add my own commentary.
So Dan Thompson has a long history.
A long history
of taking issue with teams celebrating no-hitters. In Dan's mind, that's virtually the same as pitching 6 innings and giving up a couple of runs. That is the same thing.
This is good. Keep going.
So, if you've been following the news, folks, you may have gotten an alert on your phone that a no-hitter was completed in Major League Baseball. And for me, and most baseball fans, would think that that's a pretty big deal. Again, Dan Thompson, not at all. But so, Dan, I'm curious your thoughts. The celebratory party and celebration done by the Mets had 4 relievers combined for a no-hitter against the Phillies, Dan. That should be celebrated, no?
Unbelievable. All right, so a couple things about this game here, David. First off, the headline on ESPN to this game was no. And we're supposed to be proud of this because they talk about how 5 pitchers combined for this, but there were 6 walks in this game. The Twins just a couple games ago, they've had multiple games in the last week where they gave up fewer hits than that. And there was no big headline, right? No, nothing like that. No attention given to that. But 5 Mets pitchers combine and they walk 6 guys. You may as well just this is like when you... It's so hard for me to talk about this, David, calmly. I mean, you can basically just let a guy go. Oh, 3-1 count? You know what? Doesn't matter. Let's keep the no-hitter. We're just going to walk him. Unbelievable. This should get no attention. Or if it gets any attention, it'd be because of the ludicrousness of celebrating it. Terrible idea. Terrible.
Man, you would think that they just won the World Series, too, with the celebration that took place.
I know. It was just unwatchable baseball.
Fans want an ejection. There it goes.
And that was Gardy's gripe.
I mean, it's a cool stat, right? But other than that, having that many pitchers and
I'm going to say this because Walker Buehler of the Los Angeles Dodgers, he has thrown in the month of April and I guess today in May, he has thrown 1 super significant game. Do you know what's significant about this one game that he threw?
I'm guessing it wasn't a no-hitter, Dan.
It was the only complete game thrown in baseball this season. There's only been 1 thrown. And that to me is much more significant than this. And that's not getting attention. So Walker Buehler, tipping my hat to you. The 12 Mets pitchers who combined for this no-hitter, no love. No love.
Okay, well, enough of that here. Let's keep going here. Puckett's picks for the upcoming Orioles series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
Well, Dan, I will be out this coming Thursday. After the Orioles series wrap, I have a final exam coming on Saturday, so I need the time to study. So once again, our friend Andrew Hoganson will be filling in. This will be the first episode, Dan, of just you and Hogs. Can you believe it?
Are you a Seinfeld fan?
Oh, love Seinfeld.
Okay, so I'm super excited because this is going to be like when George and Elaine go hang out without Jerry, and all they do you remember what they talk about?
I'm just curious, real quick. Are you George or Elaine in this scenario, Dan?
Hogs and I will figure that out on Thursday. But in this scenario, the important thing is that in the episode anyway, they have nothing to talk about until they start talking about Jerry, and then they have a great night making fun of Jerry. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make fun of you. It's going to be David's, Dumb's, every segment. Every segment, yes. Well, with that, Hogs gets the pick for the listeners, and he has taken Buxton off the board. And as I am coming off another fantastic Puckett's Picks victory, Dan, you get the next pick. All right, I'm going to go with Luis Ariz again. I just think I can't go away from him.
I love this that you just keep leaving me ample options to choose, Dan.
No, because here's why. Because Luis Ariz only has, I think it's like 7 strikeouts this whole season, and so I'm going to go for the not negative. Like that's my goal here. I don't think Ariz is necessarily going to hit more home runs than Correa and Buxton, but I think he's going to nickel and dime his way to victory here in Puckett's Picks.
Well, I really hope you keep this strategy up, Dan. You just keep picking the guy based on who's not going to strike out, because
I don't want to chase it. I just don't want to chase, because if I pick Correa, he's not going to win. I guarantee you. So
okay,
I'm going to go.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and pick Correa because he is still on the board and he has won me the last 2 Puckett's Picks. Can't wait, Dan. Thanks so much for that.
You know, a wiser person would probably pick like Max Kepler, for example, but I just can't do it yet. I'm waiting for Max Kepler to revert to his...
I was assuming that you were going to take Correa and I was going to take Kepler. So to be able to take Correa, quite excited.
You still could, you could take Kepler instead of Correa. It's not too late.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to do that quite yet. Let me see. As soon as teams start not shifting on Kepler, then I'm going to pick him a lot. Let me tell you.
All right, David. Well, you should send us out since you're not going to be with me next week.
Yes, sir. Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on Twitter at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast to be notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating, that'd be great. A reminder that episodes are now available on our YouTube channel. If you could drop us a like and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. If you didn't know this, folks, YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world. So any eyes that we can get on the podcast would be great, and any comments and likes and subscribers we get help that algorithm pump us up to other Twins fans. So if you could do that, we'd appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, 2 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.